It is time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of Pro Rodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Well, Tracy, the month of June is almost upon us. We're back for another episode of the Chute Bosses here. It's Tanner Barth and Tracy Rink. We've got an exciting show coming our way today. We're going to sit down with the number one ranked man in the world in the bull riding, Creek Young. He's young, but he's on fire right now.
Yeah, he's had a great season. He wins Rodeo Houston. He's mentioned in the past, he hasn't been able to take care of business in the big rodeos. Mm-hmm. Obviously did that in Houston. Now the next step is, can he keep his momentum going through the summer run and then be ready for the NFR and close the deal at the NFR? I know it's a marathon, but I know that's his wish.
Yeah, well, we talked about, he was found a way to win Rodeo Houston, but also had a big night at the Swells Extreme Bulls down in Fort Worth, Texas. So, if you get two big paydays, two wins there, that's $60,000 between those two rodeos. So it is a pretty, decent chunk of change to get yourself started, but credit him, he took advantage. So we'll talk to him a little bit about that, maybe look at his ride on Pegasus 92, one of the top rides we've had this season. So we'll have that all coming up here in your interview. That'll be in section 3 here of the Chute Bosses. We start with our Pro Rodeo props, Tracy, and this one's a little bit unique. We go out to the Colorado Stampede in Grand Junction, Colorado. This used to be a PRCA rodeo, and if you're not familiar with the state, it's out on the western slope, the western side close to Utah. But for the first time in 30 years, back to being a PRCA rodeo. Usually you see some of these where if their rodeo dissolved, that's just going to be it. They'll move on. But this committee found a way to come back, and they put on a $70,000 rodeo in their first year back in 30 years.
Yeah, that's incredible, honestly.
It is,
I mean, to come up with that kind of money, because usually you kind of have to literally, starting from the ground up, it's hard to get the prize money to get people to go to the rodeo. And I know with Keenan Hayes, I believe, was there, a world champion.
Josh Frost.
Josh Frost.
Yeah.
And then obviously only going to get more dollars as people see more people there. But Grand Junction, you know better than I believe, because you live there. But it's a lot bigger than people give it credit for, that side, and it's by a lot of tourist places that people might
really
want to,
pretty.
People might want to go see the rodeo. So it's cool to me. I honestly didn't even realize it had been gone that long, but we always welcome rodeos back in the fold for sure.
No doubt about it. That's event first time in 30 years over Memorial Day weekend that we mentioned the $70,000 purse, and also a good Mountain States rodeo. Give some of our local guys another chance to go out and win some big money, because there's a lot of rodeos in the Mountain State circuit. We go from Wyoming down to New Mexico and different areas like that, and then out to Utah. But that's a good chunk of change, besides,
and those guys want to
Denver.
get to the NFR Open. It's all part of their getting the NFR Open and have a chance to win $25,000, $30,000 and punch your ticket to Vegas if things go right.
And I hope it just continues to grow, and they can put on, a great event for a long time out there in Grand Junction. Our short round segment, speaking of Colorado, the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs, they're preparing to celebrate, Tracy, 45th anniversary, and they got a lot of cool things coming up. They're going to start with their exhibit. I think it's in the 101 Gallery. It's 45 years of memories. The Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame's been around a long time, Tracy, and they have a lot of cool artifacts that maybe some people don't get to see.
Yeah, I browse down there every day, walking around, and they've got some cool artifacts now that they just put on display. And they've got a bunch of things planned for the 45th anniversary. They've got a clown reunion coming, a bunch of guys that have been, some still doing it, some not, retired. They're going to, a big day, they're supposed to roll back the prices to 1979. So
what do you think that entry price would be then?
I'm guessing maybe like $2.
I was thinking like 50 cents.
I don't know, 79.
How's your inflation calculator?
I don't know. I would say probably $1 to $2.
We'll see. We'll put a bet on the table. DraftKings. What's the over/under on the price to get into the Hall of Fame? But as Tracy mentioned, all this is going to go hand in hand with the Hall of Fame celebration, but then also the open house. They're going to have an exhibition rodeo down there. Have food, a bunch of games. So make sure you check all that out. That's going to be running in the month of August here at the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. And then also, Tracy, we've already talked about this throughout. I think maybe about a month ago when it first opened up, but the Hesty by Massey Ferguson Sowing Good Deeds contest is open. This is one of my favorite contests just because it recognizes the work in the communities of rodeo committees, what they're doing in their hometowns, how they're impacting students, how they're impacting just different different things across the community. And this competition now open and a chance to recognize those rodeo committees.
Yeah, and they get a tractor for the ultimate winner gets a tractor. They announce it at Vegas as part of the awards banquet, which is obviously a packed house in front of all your rodeo peers. And the biggest thing about rodeos that some people may not realize is the economic impact it has on cities and just scholarships. And like you said, it's really incredible. And the reason they can is, like, say the Pikes Peak Bus, for example, they give a lot of their money, and I believe it's almost all of it, to the military. I mean, a lot of these rodeos do things to give back to other people in the community. It's not just they're volunteers working. It's not an initiative of how are we going to make money and we're getting paid. Like, it's an initiative to help your community, and this is just another way of recognizing what these volunteers do.
Yeah, and if you want to apply, this is rodeos of any size. You don't have to be as big as Houston. You don't have to be, the smallest rodeo in the country with a $2,000 purse. Anybody can go out and apply for this, and all rodeos that apply, they'll be given a Massey Ferguson banner to hang in their arena. The winner gets that tractor, as Tracy said, and then you have until September 1st to put in your applications, and best of luck to whoever comes out on top and wins that, because it's rodeo recognizing the work that they do in their community.
Yeah, and it just means a lot to those committees. I mean, if you've been part of anything that puts on a big event, and then to be rewarded for it would be heartwarming, to say the least, as much work as they're putting into those rodeos.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's going to lead us right into our 8-question segment, Tracy, and this time we're going to sit down with, a guy that's had a little bit of a, I guess you would say, up and down career. He's battled injuries, He maybe got a little bit of a later start to the prime time in rodeo than some guys. We're going to sit down and chat with Logan Hay. He missed out on the NFR a year ago, made his debut in 2022, and he's just, a cool dude. He has a great personality as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's always chatty. He's always good to hang out with. And the crazy thing about him is he'd been injured initially when he was growing up. I mean, rodeo was obviously the plan, but he got injured. So then if I'm remembering right, I did this story. He was out in, like, the wilderness doing guides, like living with no cell phone, like living on the lam for like a year. And then he got back into rodeo. The year he went to Vegas in 2022, he finished third in the world.
Had a great NFR.
And I mean, I believe he won over 300,000. It was insane. He won like 3 rounds, and he's part of the Hay family. Obviously, Dad Rod, Dawson, and Logan. And last year he got hurt in Reading, and he never was healthy again. He tried to come back way too early. He couldn't move his arm. Last year, if you remember watching him at the Calgary Stampede,
he had that brace on his arm.
Yeah, and he was like a guy with a broken arm trying to ride a horse. So that tells you what it means to those guys. It's hard to do things at a high level when you're truly injured. But Logan won San Antonio.
He's back inside the top 10.
And he's back in the mix. And if he can keep it going, and the biggest thing is, 1, stay injury-free, B, consistency. It's all about consistency. You don't have to win every rodeo. You just have to win checks at the rodeos you're counting.
Yep, chip away at it and find a way to get the job done. We'll go to our 8-question segment with Logan Hay.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I'm going to have to go Step Brothers.
Favorite restaurant?
Aztec.
Favorite TV show you binge watch?
I'm going to go The Blacklist.
Favorite hockey team?
Edmonton Oilers.
Who's older, you or Dawson?
Me. Lots of people didn't know that, but I am.
Describe saddle bronc riding in 1 word.
A fist fight, but also a dance. You got to be dancing. It's an aggressive dance.
Favorite horse you've ridden?
Favorite horse I ran, Explosive Skies.
If you weren't rodeoing, what would you be doing?
I'd be a hunting guide.
And Logan, Tracy, you can just tell, a lot of people think he's the younger brother of Dawson. He's actually the older brother, and he's just a great personality. He's one of those dudes you see walking down the hallway. Hey, how you doing? He's always got a huge smile on his face.
Yeah, he's funny. I enjoy being around him. He's just funny. He's just charismatic. You gravitate to guys like that because they just like to have a good time, and they like enjoying rodeo, and they're good at it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we appreciate Logan's time there. We're our 8-question segment. And we also want to remind you all, the newest Pro Rodeo Sports News magazine coming out here, Tracy. If you haven't got it in your mailbox out there, I know
that's not our fault.
Yeah, that's not our fault. They should be coming soon, but make sure you get check out your new magazine. A lot of great stories, a lot of features in there. We talk about Cooper Cook having a big showing down in San Angelo. So a lot of cool things in the magazine, and you can also subscribe to the magazine. Just give us a call here. We'll make sure to get you set up and pointed in the right direction to get the Pro Rodeo Sports News magazine. That's going to wrap it up for the first segment. We got much more coming your way. We'll sit down with, a bunch of different guys. We'll have your Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight, sit down with Creek Young, and then we'll go to the wild man himself, Buck, for your Pro Rodeo word of the day. All that coming up on the Chute Bosses.
Farm life means always hoping for the best, but planning for uncertainty. You have to be ready for the next everything, the next dawn, the next season, the next harvest, the next technology, the next challenge, and the next generation. No matter what comes your way, we can help keep you ready for the next.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, the official podcast of Pro Rodeo. We mentioned we got a new logo this past week. You can now see that on all of our podcast channels. It's up there. So if you're looking for our new logo, we went from a blue logo to more of the Pro Rodeo look. Yeah. Tracy, official Pro Rodeo podcast. So you can check it out. It's been a good transition and a lot of exciting things happening here with the show.
I love the blue. Blue's my favorite color. I love the outline though. It's good though. We need branding. We need something new, and we need to get shirts like that.
You're going to buy them?
Yeah.
Maybe we got to get Buck one too. Huh?
He needs an extra small.
Yeah, that man just needs a new shirt. All right, let's get into our Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight, Tracy. And, we always talk about athletes. We always talk about the stock, the rodeo committees. Let's talk about somebody that did something behind the scenes. We're going to go to 2007 Hall of Fame inductee Doug Corey. Mm-hmm. Doug Corey is one of those guys that took the lead role, Tracy, in really crafting the PRCA's animal welfare guidelines, and that is so important.
Yeah.
And those programs that go along and support those guidelines during his time in rodeo, because we know how contentious that can be. Mm-hmm. And, he was the one that kind of spearheaded of what we want rodeo to be and what we want, how these athletes and, stock contractors, how the animals will be treated throughout the process.
Yeah, and as you and I know, because we work in the building, those animals get treated like kings.
Yeah, they're like their children.
Yeah, they're their children. But they have to have policies. They have to have people on the outside need to understand what these vets
guidelines
do and guidelines, what they have to go through.
Very strict.
Right, and they're extreme. We've seen animals get disqualified at the NFR, some of the best horses, because they were sick or different things may have happened and they can't compete. And so, but it all has to fall in the right guidelines, and they're animal superstars. So the rough stock guides are only as good as the animals they ride. Exactly. So you got to take care of them, and to do that, you have to have guys like Doug Corey that, pioneers, so to speak, in what they do to make the sport what it is today.
Well, and one of the biggest things that Corey did, Tracy, was, he was part of the policy that helped implement, making sure that at every pro rodeo that there's a veterinarian on site, and then also a livestock ambulance present at every single rodeo. And, since that was implemented, you just have to think how many animals were saved by that. Right. Obviously we had some unfortunate circumstances. Maybe animals didn't survive. But, having that there is a huge thing,
right.
And I'm sure stock contractors love it because, they have a little bit of insurance there that a pro is here to take care of this animal if something happens.
Right. I mean, it's like having a doctor on site, and you never know what's going to happen with animals. And if God forbid something happens to an animal, it's a split-second decision sometimes to save an animal's life. It's no different than a human. And to have someone there, and there's been animals that have come back from injuries that 100%. You never thought, there's no way. And because they were saved at a rodeo, maybe a year later, they're back in top form.
Yeah, and it just shows, Pro Rodeo considers their animal athletes on the same exact level with their contestant athletes. And, that's one thing that Doug Corey really stepped up and made important during his time and implemented those policies. So that's a good Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight. There's no doubt about that. Tracy, our NFR historic moment of the week. And this one, as we can get Pancho, Andrew to pull it up back there. We'll take a look at it. This one, we're going to go back to the round 10 of the 1995 NFR. Billy Laye, we're going to go ahead and let it play. Andrew wants to crank up the audio, and then we'll talk about it after.
Billy Laye, Canadian champion. He is a champion of champions. Look at here. Yeehaw, boy, you got one now. Holy mackerel, did you see this?
Right, Tracy.
The crazy thing is that horse seemed like it was going to run initially out of the chutes, and then it just stopped.
It wanted to ragdoll.
Yeah,
him.
then it was showing off. It like took off like a race right there, and I'm like, no way. And then he stopped like on a dime.
And they always say, Tracy, that when those horses, when they plant those feet in the ground, you might see it if we can get Andrew, if it loops to a replay, but that horse starts running about 20, 30 miles an hour and then plants those front feet. It's like getting in a car wreck, yanking your neck forward.
It's amazing.
And look at that, Tracy, that was an historic ride there at the NFR in 1995. That was the first ever 90-point ride in bareback riding history in Las Vegas. And you got to give the horse credit as well, Butler and Sons and Survey Rodeo's Brown Bomber, and just an awesome ride there, and definitely a historic moment there in Las Vegas.
Honestly, I thought there would have been maybe a few 90s sprinkled in the early 90s, because there was so many great riders and different things, and obviously the judging is different. Like back in the day, if you got a 78, you were high on the hog, so to speak, and now 90s are a lot easier to come by, and probably because of better animals, better athletes, but I was shocked it wasn't until 95 that it happened in Vegas, and it was great to see. And the horse did what it was supposed to do, and the judges rewarded Billy correctly. And that's the cousin of Clint Laye. Yeah. He's in the Canadian Hall of Fame, 13-time NFR qualifier.
What do you got going on there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties back here, but one of the things that I wanted to mention doing my research for this is the second closest ride to the first 90-point bareback ride was in 1981, so it took 14 years to get that extra point on that ride to get the 90-point for the first time. So I thought that was pretty interesting. 14-year hiatus right there.
Yeah, and we almost went on a streak there, Tracy, where it felt like a lot of those rides, we started getting in a roll there. We started throwing out a lot of 90-point rides, and 90 points is special.
Yeah, it used to be like really super special. Obviously this was, but like in 2017 to like 2019, I'm guessing, we probably had like 40 90 rides between all the rough stock events, when it was like, my gosh, I mean, you could look at our record books in the media guide and how many 90-point rides were in that area. So to me, I think I'd want it to be a little more special, just because, I mean, 90, it means a lot. And not that guys deserve getting 90-point rides, but back then I think it was far more meaningful because it had never been done.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So great NFR historic moment. We'll continue bringing those to you. Tracy, our viewer question comes from Trisha on Facebook. This one kind of, I guess for people that don't have a chance to watch a lot of rodeo, she just wants to know, what are the guys in the arena on horseback during the rough stock events doing? Which we obviously know what those guys are. They're known as pickup men in the sport of rodeo.
Yeah, I mean, they're valuable because they obviously get guys off horses. I mean, that ultimately it's like you're riding and you jump off and they help you get to the ground safely. I mean, they're heroes in their own right, because some of those guys get hung up or jumping off a wild beast, so to speak, and you break ankles. I mean, that's what they're there for. But there's an art to it, though, like how soon you have to get up there, how close you need to be. It's not as easy as it looks. These guys make it look easy because they're professionals, but they
got to be at the top of their game, because you can easily get hurt doing that.
Right, but the biggest thing to me would be the nerve-wracking is you have to literally be so focused to make sure you're coming in at the right times to get the guy off the horse. I mean, because if you're not and somehow you're behind, then you're risking yourself of injury and the rider injury.
Well, and the bucking horses, Tracy, so the guys will ride up beside the bucking horses while the guy's still on them. They start at the back of the horse. They flip off the flank strap. That flank strap obviously will go to the ground, and that's the key, or the notion to the animal it's okay to stop bucking.
Right.
They're trying to get that to stop, and then they can just kind of be in a run around the arena. Then you get up right next to them, the guy, you got to put your arm out. They grab onto your waist. They jump off.
While you're riding.
Yeah, while you're riding. It's a huge notion. And then once they're finally out, the cowboy's off and on the dirt, then they got to find a way to escort the bulls and the horses out of the arena. And some of those bulls don't want to go to the out gate. Very easy, to say the least. Yeah,
I've seen a bull jump in the stands. Abracadabra from Bad Company, Mac Altizer at Lovington Rodeo, first event I ever covered.
Were you scared?
He jumped in the stand. I was just amazed that he jumped like 20 feet in the air over like 2 rows, and they're like, "No one be alarmed, he's loose in the fun zone." And I'm like, wow.
In the fun zone. The fun zone is no longer fun.
Yeah, so they corralled him back in. It was crazy. And you speak of questions, Chute Nation the other day asked me. Chute Bosses Nation asked me a question the other day, and yes, it is true. I put Chewy Sweet Tarts in the microwave for 20 seconds. It's a life-changing event if you want to try it. Chewy Sweet Tarts, put them in a big bowl, heat them up for 20 seconds. Doesn't help your teeth, but it helps your confidence. Tips from me.
You're looking good, too.
Yeah.
One guy that's been looking pretty good here lately, maybe trying to turn his life around a little bit, is Buck. And, you know, he's at an interesting point in his life right now.
Buck's just a character. Buck lives the dream, but it's always a nightmare. It seems like every time he turns the corner, something bad goes for him. But he gets up, pulls his bootstraps up, and he's ready to go another day.
No doubt about it. Let's go down to Buck. He's got your Pro Rodeo Word of the Day. Wait. Buck?
What the Buck?
I'm Buck, official correspondent of the Chute Bosses, the official podcast of the PRCA. My word for the day is tractor. As in, a lot of rodeo committees use tractors to plow around the dirt and make the grounds look better. When it comes to Buck, the word tractor is, I was with the lady in the lounge the other day and things were going well, and just she ghosted me. And then I had to track her down. When I tracked her down, she looked me right in the eyes and said, Buck, lose my number. Buck won because I have sunglasses on. Score 1 for Buck.
In 1936, a group of cowboys and cowgirls came together for the common good of rodeo. They accomplished a feat that sparked a fire of greatness in countless Western athletes. Today, the Western lifestyle burns on in our contestants' and fans' hearts and souls. We aim to preserve the cowboy code and keep the Western lifestyle alive. Together as one, we are Pro Rodeo.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, Tracy. We talked about it off the top of the show. We're getting ready to sit down with the #1 man in the world in the bull riding, Creek Young, and he's having another spectacular season here in 2024.
Yeah, 3-time NFR guy, won Rodeo Houston. He's checking things off the bucket list this year, winning big rodeos, and he's had the talent and he's got the potential to win the world title for sure.
No doubt about it. And Creek's jumping on here with us right now. Creek, what are you up to, man? I know that some guys take a little time off here in between the summer months before Reno gets kicked off and some of these other rodeos. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been kind of picky and choosy here on the rodeos I've been going to, just kind of hanging out and getting stuff figured out here at the house before we leave for that big long summer run. Hitting a few rodeos here and there, but being pretty picky. Got a good little stretch of rodeos coming up in the next 2 weeks, so I'm excited to get back after it before the summer run starts off.
What was it like winning Rodeo Houston and just the big moments you have? You know, obviously you guys want to have a good spring, a winter and a spring run to make your summer a lot easier, so to speak, so you're not going to every single rodeo you have to. What was it like just obviously winning the standings right now, and what's this been like so far this season for you?
It's been pretty great season for me up to this point. I've been to those big rodeos and had the chance to win them and haven't done so well in the past and had the rodeo a little bit harder, and I think it's kind of hindered my attitude and my performance coming into the later months of the summer, rodeoing hard all year round rather than just that summer run, those 3 months where it really counts. And I'm hoping that it pays off and I have a good lead going into the NFR and hopefully can capitalize on a gold buckle.
You mentioned that gold buckle. You've been close. Obviously you're still young in your bull riding career, but I think your first year you go to Vegas, you finished 5th in the world, 11th in 2022, and 6th last year. What do you see that it's going to take to get over that hump, Creek, and find a way after those 10 days to have that gold buckle on you, man?
I don't know. The NFR is one of the toughest rodeos to win. Like you said, I've been there 3 times, and best I've finished is 5th. So, I don't really know. We're just going to show up with the best attitude and a little insight and, seeing that it's possible to win it. I think that's going to help my confidence going into the NFR a little bit. Hopefully ride a few more bulls. I've never ridden more than 4 that I did last year, and hopefully can bump those numbers up and have a better Wrangler NFR and just keep the ball rolling, I guess.
Is there rodeos on your bucket list that you haven't won yet in your career that you want to check off that, man, I want to win this before I call it a career?
Absolutely. Calgary is one that's it's one of my favorites. I love going up there. I love getting on those big Canadian bulls, and I've done well in the past. Had a chance to win that one a couple times and haven't done so well. Salinas is another one that I've made the short round every year I've been there. Haven't been able to win it yet. And Ellensburg, I'm a big Ellensburg fan. Pendleton as well. But those are just a few, but I want to win every time I show up.
Creek, we know you've had so much success in the short time that you've been in pro rodeo. Take me through a little bit about the Extreme Bulls tour. Do you see that as something that will give you an opportunity to win a world? It seems like it's really correlated over the last 5 to 10 years of guys that have done well in the X Bulls or won X Bulls eventually end up winning the world.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of money for us bull riders in those Extreme Bulls events. The Extreme Bulls finale there at Pendleton, plus that big Extreme Bulls in Ellensburg right before that. There's a ton of money to be won in that last couple weeks of the season, So I think it's a big jump going into the Wrangler NFR because it's some of those last events that you can hit. And definitely, I think there's a lot of money out there to be won just for the bull riders and the Extreme Bulls for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, becoming a bull rider isn't for everybody. Why was it for you, and what's that 8 seconds like for you?
Shoot, I don't know. I've grown up around it, and it's all I've ever wanted to be was a bull rider. And I don't know. It's pretty surreal being at these big rodeos, watching them on TV growing up and whatnot, and being able to compete at them and actually having chances to win them. It's stuff that I dreamed as a little kid and bringing it to fruition right now.
Speaking of watching bull riding on TV, Creek, we're going to actually pull up a ride for you. We want to check out a ride of yours from this season, I guess. We're going to go to the Fort Worth Extreme Bulls, and how about that 92-point ride? We're going to try and share our screen with you, but 92 points on Pegasus. We'll watch it through, and you can just kind of give us an idea of, what was going through your mind at that point, because, this is that bull brought it that day in Fort Worth.
Absolutely. He's a really good bull. I know at the Wrangler NFR, Pete Carr and Billy Jones there, they said it was probably one of the rankest bulls they brought to the finals there, and they won around on him at the NFR. I knew I had a good bull showing up, and I was just blessed to get it done.
Can you see it right there on your screen?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man, that Pegasus was bringing it. Did you think you made the whistle when you got bucked off there? What was going through your head?
I knew it was pretty close. I was ready to get off. I jumped off. I was just hoping that I'd been on there long enough, but that bull's really picked up a step or two. He's really been bucking here the last couple months, and hopefully maybe get to match up with him at the Wrangler NFR.
When they're spinning like that, is it just you've just got to get in the rhythm right away, correct? Like when it comes out like that, you really have there's no, like if you're off balance, there's no chance.
Absolutely, and he's a littler frame bull. I'm a little longer, taller guy, and if you miss a jump, you're probably going to get bucked off one that's bucking that hard, especially whenever they're that little. Their center's pretty small, so you got to get tapped off right out of the buck and shoot and keep gassing it and keep going to them whenever they're bucking that hard and that fast, and just lucky to get it done that day.
Where you prefer a bull going into your hand or away from your hand?
I don't really care the direction per se. There's a little bit of a style that I would say that I do better on, and probably bigger bulls that have a lot of kick and a little more rare than some that are just real small and kind of gassy. But that's a smaller, gassier bull that I got along with pretty good. But if I had my preference, I'd choose a big bull kicking real hard. It gives you a little more time to react.
Gotcha. Those ones that get up in the air, has there been a ride, obviously that was a great ride, 92. Is there one ride that you've had so far in your career that's been the most memorable?
Shoot, I don't know. I really enjoyed winning my first round at the NFR my rookie year. Took a re-ride and got on another bull that I'd been on before, and he was kind of that style, kind of got up in the air and kicked real hard and was kind of showy, and that was probably one of my favorites. But anytime you break the 90s, it's special, especially at the NFR. So
we know what ride that was one of your most memorable. What's one bull that Creek Young wants to strap it in on and go at it? Who do you got on the checklist that you want to get on?
Oh, shoot. I don't know. Any of them that I can be 90 on, I guess. I'd like to match up with Pegasus again. I think he's probably one of the better bulls going. But I don't know. I don't know. Just have to see which ones I match up against. There's a bunch of them that I know I can be the points on, and big scores make big rides. So that's what I look forward to.
I know back in the day, Bodacious was so legendary, like Tough Hedeman, those guys, like, no way, I'm not getting on that bull. Obviously, as a bull rider, I'm assuming any bull, once you guys, that's what you sign up for, right? Like, no matter what you draw, like, that's what you're getting on.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Especially whenever there's the money there to be won. Doesn't matter what they run in there, that's what we're getting on.
I've heard that Yellowstone's a bit of a tricky bull to get out on. Have you heard that before? I've heard that, yeah, it can be pretty tough in the chutes, and then you're kind of, in for a fight after that.
Absolutely. He's one of the tougher bulls that have been going. If you get out on him clean, you're probably going to have a chance to be 90, but it's still not going to be very easy to get done. Bayou Bengal's kind of the same way. He's not easy, but you can usually beat some points whenever you get him rode. He's our world champion bull last year, so I've actually rode him once in Lovington, New Mexico, and it wasn't very easy. So there's a lot of bulls out there that buck.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So when you're riding in those seconds, I'm assuming you have the internal clock, right? Like, 8 seconds. 8 seconds to the average guy is like 8 seconds. That's all they work. I mean, obviously it's a crazy profession you guys have, but what's that like for you in your head? I mean, obviously you can probably count 8 seconds all the time, even when you're walking around your house.
Yeah, I have a pretty good internal clock. Sometimes it gets a little close whenever you're not riding the best, or maybe you're a little bit out of shape and stuff like that. You got to make sure that you're finishing bull rides and stuff like that. But, definitely have a pretty good internal clock. I know usually when the whistle's coming.
I know that you're a little bit delayed here, but Creek, I want to do something. Talk about that internal clock. I'm going to start my timer, and so you're going to say a word, and we're going to see how close you can be to 8 seconds. You ready to try this?
All right, yeah, you just tell me when you start.
So no, you just go ahead and so what I'm gonna do is you just start with 1, and as soon as you say that, we're gonna start this clock. We'll see how close you can go, and then you just tell me when to stop it.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are.
It's right about there.
Holy cow! You want to see how close Creek Young was? Just close to that 8-second mark. Check out that. 8.001. That's impressive, Creek, man. I like the internal clock there. I'd say it's pretty good. So, but I mean, you don't want to be on a bull for 10 seconds if you don't have to. I mean, you get right to 8.1 and you can get on out of there. I love it.
Absolutely. If I can get off there as soon as possible, I sure will.
Yeah, I love it. Creek, were you a baseball guy? We see a bat there behind you.
Actually, I won that at the American this year.
Oh, okay, awesome.
They sent me a bat for winning the American there at Globe Life Field, and yeah, it's my American bat. I played baseball growing up real young, but never did much after the Little League and stuff like that. But they sent me a pretty cool bat for winning the American.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So what do you do to stay in shape? I mean, a lot of guys think that cowboys, and we've talked to numerous people, they're going down the road, hanging out, staying out all night, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's not that way anymore. What do you do to stay in shape, to be at the top of your game?
I like to get on bulls. Like in the summer run, there's a little bit of working out, stretching, mobility, and stuff like that. But, I mean, we're getting on dang near every day. So, like, your recovery days are important too. But here in the spring and in the winter, I like to get on my buck right. I like to do a little working out at home. And if I feel like I'm not riding up to my caliber, I just need to get on some bulls and get some bulls under me. And usually I like to get on some practice bulls, but just being entered up and getting on as many as you can to win money. I mean, it's dangerous. You can get hurt in the practice pen. I'd rather be competing for some sort of paycheck. So I just try to get on as many bulls as I can.
Good deal. Well, Creek, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you on social media. You know, all of our guests that come on here, we like to give them an opportunity to share where people can find you and, and stay in touch with what you're doing, man.
I'm probably most active on Instagram, but I have Instagram and Facebook, just Creek Young. Not very many creeks out there, so it should be pretty easy to find. And I'll try to post my schedule and all my videos on there and try to keep everybody updated.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you, Creek. I know you're having a fabulous season. I know you want to end it with the gold buckle.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, Creek, we appreciate it, man. Hopefully you stay safe going down the road. And we know you're going to be busy here as well as we are over the next couple of months, so go get it, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
There it is, Creek Young, Tracy. And you can just tell, that's one of those young kids that has the drive to become a world champion, and he's close. This is the year where he could really get it done, in my opinion.
And what I like to hear is, like, some guys, like, they want to take batting practice all the time and they want to stay in the groove. And a bull rider is a little different because of, some guys don't want to do that. But once you get the rhythm of doing it, and like he said, he wants to do it at rodeos so he can get paychecks. He doesn't want to do it in the practice pen and get hurt.
It makes sense. I mean, if you're going to get on a beast of that caliber, you might as well do it for a chance to win money.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, a lot of people, I know rodeo people understand it. Just the danger of riding bulls is obviously always there. But it's probably just something you come to the realization, this is what I do, this is what I signed up for. And once you get in the rhythm, it's like being in a hot streak as a shooter or a guy that's hitting really well. You probably think, I'm just going to keep rolling, keep it going. And he's done it this year. And, so far in a limited schedule, honestly, with the winter and spring. And now it's going to heat up in the summer, as he said. Once Reno hits, it's blowing and going every day.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But he also mentioned, ultimately for that gold buckle, it's going to come down to how he does in Vegas. You know, he's never ridden more than 4 bulls inside the Thomas and Mack. Can he do it here in 2024? Going to be fun to watch, that's for sure. But the bull riding race is wide open for a world title this year. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good finish.
Yeah, with ground money and everything there, and ultimately the guy that wins the NFR is usually the guy that's the world champion because he's winning the average, and there's so much money there. But probably the benchmark, can I ride 5 bulls? If you ride 5 bulls, you're going to be in the top 3 in the average. You're right in the mix. So he rode 4, so 5. And you think 5 out of 10, that's 50%, but that puts him probably
bull riding,
right.
that's solid.
But that's right where he needs to be, probably just looking at what we've seen over the history of the NFR bull riding. And if anybody's capable, he is.
No doubt about it. So we'll check that out, and we'll continue to follow it throughout the summer run. That's going to do it for another episode of the Chute Bosses. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Also go to the PRCA YouTube page, leave comments, questions, check out our Instagram. We want you to be involved with the show. That's going to do it for this one. Until then, keep on rodeoing.